The eve of revolution, on the road to Damascus.
And now the people have spoken, and that's what they're telling us today. They're not afraid to say that Bashar Al Assad is a war criminal. They don't want him to be their president. They want something new, and they say that that day is going to start today.
We take you inside the first days of Syria in transition.
These are many of the people that fought in this revolution that marched to Damascus, the final declaration of victory just yesterday.
Throwing off the yoke of half a century of repression, but still bearing the burden of what it cost. Bashar Al Assad has fled the country. The remaining vestiges of his rule are stamped out with each day that follows his overthrow.
فرحة الشعب السوري لا توصف عامة بكل أطيافه. الشعب السوري شعب عريق مثقف قديم.
That joy is also shared among Syrians living abroad who last visited their country before the revolution started more than 13 years ago.
I came back about 2 days ago. I'm just so happy. I can't express my feelings enough.
At Umayyad Mosque in Damascus, people take turns etching out the name of Bashar's father, Hafez al-Assad, who ruled the country for nearly 3 decades. The ubiquitous presence of father and son overlooking every public space, now defaced. And the lavish lifestyle of the ruling family exposed. At the gates of one of Bashar al-Assad's palaces, people gather to see how their former leader lived, the facade of an unbeloved king.
الله ينتقم منه على العيشة اللي كان معيشنها والعيشة اللي كان عايشها. عايش عيشة فوق البزخ. فوق البزخ. معيشنا عيشة كهرباء ما في، مازوت ما في، بنزين ما في، معيشة ما في، بيوت ما في، العالم عايشة بالطرقات.
هو صعب كتير، بس هو شعور انه كيف هون عايشين وعالم برا مو عايشه، هذا الشيء اللي بيقهر
In Bashar al-Assad's Syria, 9 in 10 people lived in poverty, whilst he ruled over them with an iron fist in a velvet glove. Daubed on the walls, messages of revolution and damnation. This one says, "Greetings from Kabun," one of the areas in Damascus destroyed by Assad forces during the revolution. This is all that remains, along with the families broken by his will to remain in power.
بالأول كنا قاعدين ما بدنا شو صار الضرب شفت والهي نحن هربنا من أول الضرب ما قعدنا هون طلعنا وتركنا بس هلا إلنا 3 سنين راجعين لهون. أنا مفقود جوزي من 2013 وما عرفت شيء عنه، معتقل هو وسيارته، ابني من 2012 كمان هو وسيارته ما عرفت هلا شيء عنه.
Ibtisan's other son was only a boy when his father and older brother were disappeared.
والله ما عندي أمل.
People we've spoken to in this neighborhood say it was like a paradise before the civil war in 2011. Several years later, Assad forces completely destroyed this area, leaving people without heat, water, or electricity.
Ibtisan is happy the regime has fallen. But after searching for any signs her husband and son might still be alive, she says she can't find peace until she knows what happened.
بقول لك شعوري غير شكل بس ما كملت فرحتي. انه لسه ما عرفت شيء لا عن جوزي ولا عن ابني. انا ابني جاني خبر انه بالخط الاحمر. جوزي ما عرفت شيء. وهلا ما عرفنا شيء.
The oppressive omnipotence of the Assad regime has been replaced with haunting questions about tens of thousands of its victims. Many were arbitrarily arrested and placed in the depths of Sednaya Prison's Red Wing, where detainees were tortured and executed. Relatives of those who were imprisoned here come each day to sort through thousands of scattered documents in search of any information about their missing family members. Amar Abari is a lawyer and a former prisoner in Sednaya's Red Wing. He's gathering evidence of what he says is a system of crushing dissent.
13/9/14 هلا هذا المكبس يعني نحن ما شفنا شو اللي صار هون، يعني نحن اللي المتعارف عليه المتداول انه هذا كانوا الاشخاص بعد ما يتوفوا وتم اعدامهم يوضعوا هون ويتم كبسهم.
Amar says during the 6 years he was held here, prisoners weren't allowed to see much of anything.
هلا بتمشي هيك المساجين بيمشوا ورا بعضهم، بيكون السجان ماشي ورا هون، اللي بيقصر ممكن يضربوا نفسي يخبطوا كف على رقبته. هيك بيمشي ورا السجان.
He shows us how the prisoners were strictly forbidden from ever looking at the prison guards.
كلهم بيقعدوا ورا بعض هيك، واللي هنيك نسيوا نفس الشيء، ممنوع حدا يعطي وشه للسجان، ممنوع. خايف عم يرجف.
Rules that established fear and silence as a way of life, with no guarantee of survival.
هيك يرجف يخاف.
Amar is trying to bring closure to families of detainees. He says the documents he took from Sednaya Prison contain 4,000 names of people executed there. And he's on a mission to contact their relatives. We accompany Amar to his hometown of Taldo in Homs province, about a 2-hour drive from Damascus. On arrival, Amar is swarmed with people in search of any information he might have about their missing loved ones. Amar doesn't have all the answers for the people here. But today, he's the bearer of bad news. He's told Iman her husband's name was found on an official document listing prisoners executed in Sednaya Prison. Iman and her children have been waiting 7 years for any information about him.
هلا هو سلم حاله 2018 واسأل عنه ما بيقولوا وينه امتى نفذ الحكم هلا.
A father, a brother, and a son. Ghassan Khalid al-Khudr never met his youngest child. His wife was pregnant when he was thrown in prison by Assad forces in 2018. Many of those held in Sednaya Prison were from villages like Taldo and Homs, the heartland of the opposition. The scars of war here are from the early days of the revolution in 2011 and 2012. This cemetery, tucked away in the village, lie the bodies of more than 100 civilians, killed in one of the war's worst atrocities, known as the Hule Massacre, carried out by Assad's military and pro-regime forces.
حطينا الشباب والأطفال بالجامع والحريم ببيت عند الشيخ وهذا اللي صار وبعدين بلشنا عاد صرنا نغسلون وأخذوا هون.
The International Committee on Mass Graves says there could be as many as 66 mass graves across Syria. Syrian civil defense, also known as the White Helmets, are finding more of these sites by the day, including this one near Baghdad Bridge, about 35 kilometers outside of Damascus.
In this small section we found 7 bags, and in each bag it was written a name, the prisoner number, and then the grave number. I cannot imagine they put 7 dead bodies and 7 bags in this small grave. I think it's like 1 meter with 1 meter.
This is like 10 years. From 10 years, they bury people here from 10 years. And this is so organized. Imagine that, organizing like building a cemetery to after killing people, bury them here in an anonymous way. Their family don't know anything about them. So this is so scary, it's so frightening. All of them prisoners. They wrote prison number, and we take samples of them for the DNA analysis in the future, because there is a names, but we don't know if these names belong to these bags or not. So we take the samples in order also to analyze these samples in the future, and we could find identification with their families.
Syrian civil defense workers we've spoken to here say they believe that this area is full of bodies, and it's only one of a number of mass graves yet to be uncovered. This site sits in the middle of a remote area surrounded by a wall. It appears by design to hide the atrocities of the Assad regime.
The White Helmets are only just beginning to identify these sites, but they'll wait to go through a proper procedure to be established by the interim government to fully excavate them.
But we believe in one day when we will have a government, when we will have authorities, we can open this massive grave and we can work on it in accurate, proper way to make the identification.
The only thing we found after the Assad regime fall, prisons and cemetery. He turned Syria to be a graveyard.
Imam Abd al-Qadr has prayed over the bodies of many Assad victims in Qutayfa. Some were brought here to the local cemetery.
أتي إلينا بعدد كبير من الجثث، حول 30 40 أو 60، من 40 ل 60 واحد تقريبا دفنوا في حفرة واحدة.
Qutayfa's imam takes us to another mass burial site down the road. He believes there are as many as 100,000 victims buried here.
نحن أول قسم دفناه في هذه المنطقة هنا كان حول حفرة حول يعني 10 أمتار تقريبا أو 8 أمتار بطول حول 15 متر.
In each corner of the site, Russian military vehicles.
كتابة أعتقد روسية مو روسية هي الكتابة.
The imam says Russian military personnel operated this mobile radar equipment. Manuals found scattered outside the vehicles are written in Cyrillic, evidence which calls into question Moscow's knowledge and facilitation of what's described as the Assad regime's killing machine. Syria's new rulers are promising to bring justice, an important step in bringing the country together after years of strife. International relations are being restored as world leaders visit Damascus for the first time in more than a decade, seeing for themselves the brutality of the Assad regime. But ultimately, it will be up to the Syrian people to demand justice and ensure their new leaders establish a government that reflects the aspirations of its people.